I wanted you to ask me out on a date, but I was like, I'll just take the initiative and show him that he's really what I'm feeling.
Like, what makes you, like, what are the things that you're feeling?
Hey guys, and welcome back to Little Blair, but you know what time it is. Talking to you guys about Ready to Love, dealing with Alex and Alicia, the two A's, baby. And we're going to talk about the fact that Alicia wants you to be king, but Alex allows you to be king. And I'm going to explain what that actually means as we go through this review. Guys, if you are new to the channel, make sure you like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for a notification of the what? Uploads, baby. And for those of you who are returning, well, you got the minerals. You got the minerals. Yeah. All right, cool. Let's get into the review. So talking obviously about Alicia and Alex, there's a clear distinction between the two people. Okay, you've got Alicia, who is forward thinking, ready to take advantage, wants to lead, wants to push forward, will try to make it happen. Nothing wrong with that. Then we've got Alex, who's a bit more laid back, a bit more guarded, very soft in nature, naive almost in some respects. Great conversation, just as Alicia is too, but she's got a more softer side to her. She's not going to necessarily outrightly pursue her man, okay? And so you got a clear distinction between the two. And what Bryan is looking at right now is, one will want you to be a king and force you into kingship, and the other will allow you to be king simply because of the way that they will operate as a queen. What do I mean by this? Alicia is the type of woman that will need you to take charge, no play, yeah? And she will put you in your place, if you want to call it that. She will let you know what time it is, okay? And that forward energy, that passion that she has, that strength, that independence will force you into kingship. But if you're not ready for kingship for that type of woman, you're gonna struggle, because you're gonna need to lead her indefinitely. You're gonna have to at points say, listen, Alicia, this is the boundary. Like, I need to chill, because she really let us know that she's high maintenance, right? And that comes with not just money, that comes with time, energy, the way that you deal with that person emotionally, right? And then you got someone like Alex, who's a bit more soft in nature. She's got the damsel in distress kind of energy. When you've got that, what that will allow someone like Bryan to do is take charge without having to be forced to take charge. Your energy allows me to take charge. And I can almost guarantee that Bryan is...
Met with him. It's a good feeling. I was definitely all butterfly and rainbows. What was the hardest thing in life that you had to overcome?
I'm going to want Alex, because the nature of Alex is there's some naivety there, and I'm scared. I'm scared in that respect. I'm hoping, praying that he's on a real thing with Alex, because this is a good girl, evidently, and nothing wrong with Alicia too. She's a good girl too, but because you can see almost the naivety, the frailties, the softness of Alex, you do fear for her that she will get run over. I mean, if you just look at the very last scene where they were in the bedroom and she says, "I want to kiss you." No, sis, just kiss him, lad. Yeah, but she said, "I want to kiss you," like a giggly school child, and that, in some respects, a lot of guys, can be very sexy. It's like you are not ignorant of the world, but you are kind of a blank slate with a bit of mess on you, right? It's like, it's not too heavy, yeah? The way that you are presenting yourself.
Don't let me like that. Guys, I kind of want to kiss you right now, but right? What? I do.
All right, and so that giggliness, that naivety, a little bit, she's looking at her man and not making him and allowing him to be king. She looks at him with endearing eyes. To a lot of men, that's powerful. Like, every man wants to feel like a king, and some women do it better than others. Some women will show you adoration and adulation that will make you feel like a king. The way that Alex's persona is, if you're someone like Bryan, this is going to make you feel like a king, right? But it's what you do with that energy. You know what I'm saying? Because the way she looks at Bryan with admiration, the way she looks at Bryan with intensity of just like, yo, he's everything, right? Now, Alicia has a little bit of that when she was sitting with him talking on their date. What did she say to him? What draws me in is you're smart, that you're smart, right? She didn't talk about how good looking he is at that point. She said, because you're smart. right? So she's looking intrinsically as well. But her energy that she normally carries would scare someone like Bryan away. I can guarantee it. You know what I mean? But let's talk a bit more about the actual review and what was happening. So there was a scene where Alicia and Edwin and Bryan were all...
I like Bryan. I like him. I am going to approach Bryan more aggressively. He is hot. I love
talking, and she quite boldly, brashly let Bryan know that she is feeling him. Now that's great, you know. And like I said, I think it really depends on the type of guy. I don't think Bryan is a type of guy that's going to be okay with the way that Alicia is moving so forwardly, right? And I don't know. Maybe it's me, the way I'm perceiving it. I'm seeing a bit of sexual energy, the way that she moves. It's a bit like Winter too. I feel the sexual and the sensualness. I feel that, right? Just like when I think that is one of the reasons why probably he did not go back to that bedroom and in the end scene, because all that was going to happen maybe is that he was going to probably misbehave. He was going to go along with the flow. Energy was going to be right. Something's going to happen. Your celibacy walk done. You get me?
About like 20 minutes around.
I'll
be back.
I'll see you in a moment.
But I noticed that when she did make her point clear that she liked him, he didn't make that same admission back. So you saw with Adriana quite clearly told Kalfani clearly told Kalfani that, listen, I like you. And he said what? And you know I like you. So there was an admittance there. Rashid and Adriana told him, I like you. What did he say back? I like you. So everybody was getting the chance to get to know, okay, that not everyone, but you have to listen to what the person's saying back to you. Bryan never kind of said that I like you too into her face.
When I first saw you, I was like, okay, I like that. Little baby hair, you know what I'm saying? But
You know what I'm saying? Like when she said it, he just kind of went along with it, and then he gave her a hug after. Now, sometimes, let me tell you about, I call it false hope, yeah? False hope means I'm just trying to do things just to make sure that, you know, I present that there's a hope for you. But really and truly, there isn't a chance in hell for you, because his eyes are set upon Alex. Now, unless Alex does something mad and doesn't want to be with him, or he does something mad and she doesn't want to be with him, Alicia is really number two. Like fully indebted number two. Like there is no moving, there is no shifting. Alex is the only one. I mean, if you look at the way he described there,
the nice and romantic, intimate.
Oh, we got some wine.
Got some wine. Most of all, I had the wine. And when she fine, you gotta give her some wine.
What are we toasting?
their date, he said he wanted to do something really romantic. Listen to what the guy said. Listen, I want to do something really romantic for Alex. I don't hear him making any dates for Alicia. In fact, Alicia had to make the date herself. She had to pursue it. There is no way he's going to go with Alicia. He's already got his mind made up. Why? Because the kingship that he's looking for, a lot of men look for kingship, meaning where they can be adored and loved. He isn't necessarily going to get that in its full entirety with Alicia. That's got nothing to do with her cooking and cleaning. It's to do with the energy that she carries, right? That's why he made that joke about, you probably bumped me upside my head. He ain't saying that to Alex. He is not saying that to Alex. Why? Because he would never get that energy from her. See? So this is all part of him, right? And she said, obviously, you know, I felt a little bit salty about the fact.
I was a little salty today when I heard about your kiss.
I dare you to give me a kiss.
Yeah, she said, obviously, I felt some type of way that you kissed old girl. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And here's the truth, in this particular game, there is nowhere to hide. In real life, if someone does something, you probably won't find out, number one. Number two, if you invite me somewhere, I can ghost you for a little while. I can ignore you for a little while. You won't see me. But in this game, you ghost me, you're in the house. Where are you going? And what it's forcing is really open-ended conversations that normally we wouldn't ordinarily have. What we would ordinarily do is ignore the person, ghost them, reply a little bit later on, because the conversation we know is going to be a very hard one, which is right now, I'm not feeling you. Right now, you're not my number one. Right now, you are not my main priority. But we often sense this through the replies and the way that a person interacts with us, short replies, right? So when you get them short texts, it often means that the person really isn't feeling you. When they're taking long to reply, oftentimes they can be busy, but more times it's because they just want to talk to you. You know what I'm saying? But here in the house, there is nowhere to run. You have to come with a real conversation. You actually have to be honest and open about it, yeah? And so when they have a date, later on, okay, you know, it's interesting that Alicia talks about how she wants to be the lover, the friend, this and that for Bryan, but we didn't hear no questions about, you know, are you going to be a provider? So, you know, the question seemed that, you know, the question that she asked David, which was a little bit of a setup, but again, I can't defend David the whole way through. As I already said, if you're going to be dropping, you know, I want to control the relationship, then you're definitely going to get the money conversation. But notice that conversation never gets brought in. The kids get brought up by Bryan, but she never asked Bryan, so what do you think? Are you gonna be financially looking after my kids? No, she doesn't ask that question because she wasn't feeling David, same way he wasn't feeling her. And so now the conversation here is all about how she feels. This is how I feel. Why? Because you're feeling him. So the conversation changes. You don't ask that question. This is why I said that there is a question that is asked too early. When you generally like somebody, you definitely kind of miss certain questions because you don't want to be going too deep too soon. It's just too early. And I felt that's what happened with David and Alicia. But here we clearly see that she's not dropping those kind of conversations, or at least they've edited that way to look that way.
I'll just take the initiative and show him that he's really what I'm feeling.
That obviously as well, that, you know, that she had to put the date forward as well, meant that Bryan didn't have the chance to lead in this area, okay? Which is an indication of potentially, if they get together, what could potentially happen in a relationship. If you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it, right? And I don't think Bryan's that type of guy. I really don't think he's the type of guy that wouldn't want to take advantage. Why? Because he set up the date for him and Alex. So he clearly can do it. He just didn't want to do it. His mind is not on Alicia at all, you know. But I do appreciate Alicia coming forward and trying to make effort with him, because like I said, when she dropped the comment about the fact that you are smart, it's an area I feel like she would always allow him to lead, his intelligence. If she feel, and so women are very interesting people. When they see that there is an area that that the guy clearly is more dominant on, they will always allow you to lead. They always allow you to lead. More time they will allow you to lead. I shouldn't even say all the time, because some people fight you. But when they sense that you've got a handle on an area, and you got your ish together, they won't tell you nothing in that area. They won't challenge you in that area. Because again, it's about presenting the idea of security and safety. If he can dominate in that area, then I can advise him, but I don't have to take the full lead.
You're very smart. You really are.
I definitely appreciate that.
Right? And so that makes me feel comfortable. So most women, if there is an area where the man can really dominate and is the expert in it, they don't have to fight in that area. They tend to just try and submit in that area. Do you get what I'm saying? So when she mentioned about the fact that he's smart, I knew that, okay, cool, maybe she's looking at his intelligence as something that she will always allow him to lead on. So if he speaks, because he talks in some deep wells. I mean, bro, he was dropping some bars about, what was it, 1 Corinthians 13 or whatever he was dropping in front of the bedroom. You know what I'm saying? He was dropping some deep bars. So evidently, and Alex said the same thing. They are attracted to his intelligence, his deepness, okay? And so that is something that I believe that should allow him to lead on. But would she allow him to lead on everything? We don't know. But the energy for me says that there'll be fights. That will be fights that will happen in between the time. And I think he senses that. As a man, we want to look for peace. As we get grown and we get older, we do tend to look for places of peace. Again, emotional safe spaces where we're not going to have to fight and have to wrestle with you all day and all night. Do you get me? So you know. I think obviously the question between Alex and Alicia here with Bryan is going to be, who is going to make you feel like a king and who's going to challenge you for your throne. As a male, you don't want to be challenged on your throne. This is what I was saying about Kyle Farney and Denise. He's going to realize that there's going to be points where Denise will try to challenge him for the throne. And so when men sense that a woman is going to be a type to challenge for the throne, they don't want to engage in that relationship. That's not a healthy, productive relationship. You're now becoming a man. No, I didn't get into a relationship with another man. I got into a relationship with a woman. You understand? That in areas I want to lead. You understand? And so in that respect, when you meet a woman that will try and challenge you consistently and not in the right way, because there is a way to challenge. Let me be very frank with you. Ladies, there is a way to challenge your men, okay? But you can't approach that man like a man. If you do, it becomes a beating of the chest and who's going to win. And his ego and pride will tell him, don't have it. You get me? So, you know, I appreciate her answer in terms of why she feels that she's ready for love. She says, you know, she feels a bit lonely and, you know, although she loves her kids and everything like that, but she does feel a little bit lonely going to bed. And I respect that because that is the truest matter, is it not? You know, being a mother is not easy. Being anybody single is not easy for a long time. You know, we all want to have this love, unrequited love, or unconditional love from somebody. So I can appreciate that. What was interesting was the questions that I felt Bryan was asking. And I think this is really key because asking these questions means that you're thinking about it. So he says,
How receptive would your kids be to a man?
My kids, especially my son, wants a stepdad.
Your kids
But-
spoiled?
They're spoiled, but they're very respectful.
They
you
respect.
know, how about the kids? Yeah. And he said, obviously, look, you know, how would your son be in regards to, you know, being receptive to another person coming into a relationship or like, you know, a father figure? And she says, you know, my son is looking for a father figure, you know, he's looking for a stepdad, And I was like, okay. And then she mentioned about the fact that, but they are a little bit spoiled. And I'm telling you, I'm sure I know that the brother was like, spoiled, high maintenance. You're telling me the son really wants to have a stepdad. Don't know how I'm going to really fit in that. That is not attractive for him. Spoilt kids and a high maintenance mum. It's not a great combination. And you don't really like cooking and cleaning. So you really done said that yourself. You like doing it for the kids, but you don't like doing it for your man. I don't know where Bryan's going to fit into this situation. Again, that is why I'm saying there's always going to be a comparison between Alex and Alicia. It's less baggage, number one. Number two, he's not dealing with spoilt kids. I'm sorry. Dealing with spoilt kids is one of the hardest things you can ever deal with. No beef with Alicia, but when kids are spoiled and someone else comes into the fray, you've got to be able to give me the reins or the ability, especially if you're someone who's a disciplinarian. Do you know what I mean? Especially if somebody likes order. It's going to be very difficult for that person to come into your home and see spoilt kids and not want to try and put things in order. But if you don't allow him to put things in order, you're going to have you're gonna have like you beefing each and every single day because you're gonna have my view, your view. You don't do it this way, I want it done this way. Bro, I'm telling you it's long. I'm just pointing out things that potentially Bryan's kind of thinking in his head. Do you get what I'm saying?
He walked me to my room tonight. I got some snacks here. You want some snacks? Let's see. I know there's other girls that are checking for him, but I
think when they got to the bedroom situation, I think it's really interesting because, you know, they were both catching jokes about the DVDs and saying what films they would watch. Number one, I don't know why Alicia even invited him round, like to even come in the bedroom. This is what I'm talking about. This is the thing that she didn't need to do that, right? I'm not cussing her. I'm just saying that when she did that, she initiated this guy is not fully invested anyway, number one. Number two, he didn't organize a date. Number three, he hasn't said that he liked you the same way you liked him. So we got a problem here. Yeah. And then you offer your bedroom. Yeah. And it's not about you offering sex. It's about you offering the inner space, which is your sanctuary, your sanctuary area. When you're saying come into my room, it's permission to come into your safety area, your more inner area of your life. Do you understand? Yeah. And so this is for a man who is not even fully invested in you, and he sees that, what's the thing that he's going to think about? Because remember, he's not fully invested in you. What's he going to think about? Sex. But in his head, I think this, you know what? I think this is why I said, I don't know, maybe he really does like Alex, and I can't be too hard on him, is that when he agreed to it, I totally understand why he agreed to it, right? I have to hit him on the head though. You know, the process here is different from in the real world. In the real world, if a girl says come round, you can ignore her text and then probably message her in 3 days time and say, hey, how you doing? You good? Yeah. Here, you can't ignore the person and then be like, everything's cool. No, bro, I saw you yesterday.
He could have just said, oh, I don't want to come back. But instead of being a man about it, he said nothing and then went.
And I'm going to see you today. So you better tell me something. What the hell happened? So now women can actually question men on their behavior. So it makes it even more important to actually discuss and communicate. And I think that is one of the reasons why men fail in these areas, because we're used to running, right? We're used to doing whatever we want to do. We're used to just kind of making our own rules. We're used to dodging in very difficult conversations. And this was a difficult conversation. So he dodged it. And not only did he dodge it, he didn't go to bed. He actually gave her a time, 20 minutes, and then went to Alex's bedroom and had a conversation there. And so, bro, now you look bad. But this is, if this was done on through text per se, yeah, nobody would know this. But because now everything's being played out on TV, that behavior that we normally do, because remember, we act out as we are trained to do. Men oftentimes train themselves to ignore these type of conversations when we're not feeling you, right? If we don't want sex, we don't want you, we don't want to spend time with you, oftentimes guys can just ignore the conversation and go elsewhere. If you deep it, he couldn't do it here. He actually could not do it here. So in that regard, he had a different... He behaved like he was trained to do, right? Which is to ignore, to ignore very difficult conversations. And so now, you got a situation at your hand. You're now at the door of Alex, and something really interesting really happened. And maybe we can address this in the actual video when I do Alex and Bryan. Something that he didn't do. She asked him, "Where were you tonight?" And I don't know, maybe there was an extended conversation, but when I ask you, "Where were you tonight?" You banter, you make it laugh, and you joke, you're deflecting and not answering the question straight outright. I don't know. Again, this is maybe a beginning of the type of behavior he may exhibit with Alex to try and numb her asking too many questions, or to stop her, or maybe he thinks that telling her the truth will cause her to be triggered and become too emotional and stuff like that. Because sometimes we can overthink as men, because sometimes you're playing a game. Sometimes you...
Where did you go off to?
Dang, why?
Because I be looking, I'm observing. I saw a few things.
I gotta keep asking you.
Just not being real. Or sometimes, generally, what has happened is that, you have operated with girls in the past and you're used to moving mad, and so you're trained to tell girls half truths and not the actual truth of the actual story. So now you're here not telling the full story about the situation. Okay, and so now when she's asking you where you were last night, you're making jokes and banter about where you were tonight. And where were you tonight? You was on a date. Why can't you just say that? I was on a date with Alicia, like nothing long, like, I wasn't really feeling her, nothing like that. Couldn't say it. Game playing. Do you feel me? But I don't want to say too much too tough there. And she didn't even really press it too hard. I mean, she pressed it a little bit, but she didn't press it too hard. And that for me is concerning, that naivety could be taken advantage of by someone who's just willing to be a demon. But hey, guys, let me know your thoughts. What do you think? Let us know down below in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe. Click on the bell button for notification of the uploads. We appreciate you.